Hello, wonderful people out there. This is Barrister Ukonu. I welcome you back to another series of BrainBox. And in today's series, we'll be considering the topic titled Self-Control is a Superpower. Do you quite agree with me? Now, let's start with a very bold statement. And what's that? Self-control is more powerful than talent. It's more reliable than motivation. And self-control is more dangerous than aggression. And if we must note, and yet almost nobody trains it. Now, in a world that rewards loud reactions, instant replies, and impulsive decisions, self-control looks very boring. But one thing we must note that self-control, it wins. It actually does win. The person who controls their emotion controls what's their outcome. And that's one thing we don't understand. Because most of the time now think about Cristiano Ronaldo's talent. Absolutely. But what separates him isn't just ability. It is discipline, strict training, strict diet, strict routine, which others relax. He refines it in self-control. Or look at Oprah Winfrey. She has faced criticism, pressure, and public scrutiny, but reacting emotionally would have damaged her influence, voice, restraint, and thoughtful response. That was what sustained her leadership. Now, self-control is not weakness. It is strength under regulation. That is exactly what it is. Anyone can explode. Anyone can respond instantly. Anyone can spend impulsively. Anyone can quit when it's uncomfortable. But not everyone can pause. It's not everybody that does that pause, that does the pausing. That pause, that's power. Because self-control is choosing long-term gain over short-term Short-term satisfaction. That's exactly what it is. It is saying no when yes, it's easier. It's staying silent when you could destroy someone with your words. It's walking when distractions are calling your name. Now here's what makes it a superpower. And what is that? It compounds. And one disciplined decision builds momentum. One resisted distraction is what shapes focus, and one controlled reaction preserves a relationship. Now, small moments of restraint create massive outcome over time. That's one thing we must note. And most people think success requires most people sometimes it requires power. It requires impulse. You don't lose progress just in one dramatic collapse. No, you lose it in repeated lack of control. That's how you lose success. One emotional message, one unnecessary argument, one reckless retreat, one abandoned routine. Self-control protects your future from your present mood. And that's exactly what self-control does. You need to read that again. Because feelings change hourly. Consequences last longer. But the person who masters themselves doesn't need to control others. You don't need to control anybody. But all you do is control yourself. You don't need to shout to command respect. They don't need revenge to feel powerful. They don't need validation to feel secure. They don't need all those. Now they regulate themselves. That is exactly what they do. And that's very rare. It's quite rare because rare qualities create rare results. And that is why we must note that we need to be honest, because self-control isn't glamorous. It isn't glamorous. No one applauds you for not responding to an insult. No one throws a party because you skipped a bad habit. And no one does that. And one thing we must note is that, but the result is what speaks. The result is what shows. Because strong bodies comes from controlled habits. Stable finances come from controlled spending, and healthy relationship comes from controlled emotion. Leadership comes from controlled reaction. And that is what we must note. And here is the deeper truth that we must note, is that self-control is what builds self-respect. And when you consistently override impulse with intention, sometimes shifts intentional, you begin to trust your reactions and you begin to feel solid. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. You become very unstoppable because now your actions aren't random, they are deliberate, they are intentional. Now, this doesn't mean suppressing what's your emotion, not at all. It means managing them. At the same time, it doesn't mean denying desires, it means directing what's it. And self control doesn't limit you, it frees you, it makes you what free, and it frees you from regret, from chaos, from self sabotage. That is exactly what it does what for you. So the next time you feel the urge to react instantly, you must pause. And the next time you want to quit, also do what? Pause. That's the best thing for you to do the next time you are tempted what to choose comfort over commitment. You need to pause also. And because inside that pause is your superpower. That's where your superpower lies. Not flashy, not loud, but transformational. Anyone can be talented. Anyone can be emotional. And at the same time, anyone can be reactive. But the person who masters themselves are exactly the ones that don't just win occasionally. They don't just win occasionally, they win consistently. And self control is not restriction. It is not at all. It is authority over your own life. You need to take charge of your life. And that is a true superpower. That is where the superpower is. Therefore, learn to master yourself because that is where the true power lies. It doesn't lie on that impulse, it doesn't lie on that quick reaction. It lies in the act of self control. If you're watching a time like this, up to a time like this, please don't forget to subscribe and to hit the notification bell that we might bring your way more contents like this. And don't forget that impossible only say what? I am possible. Activate your brain box today. Thank you.